Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Buenos días, Víctor.
Buenos días, Antonio.
Buongiorno, Ilaria.
Buongiorno, Antonio. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Karel.
Hi, Victor.
Maria.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too,
Hello,
Karel.
good morning.
Ah, you're there. Okay.
Hello, Maria.
Hello, good morning.
I see that you know between yourself.
With Karel and Maria, we do.
Yeah. Welcome, Maria.
I was muted. Hello, good morning.
Welcome. Yes. Okay. So, for those of you that are new to these meetings, welcome. We try to be very punctual and straight to the points in our interventions, okay? And we created some kind of rules because at the end there are very good minds and expertise here, and we try to allow everyone to participate and provide the best of their minds here, okay? So we divide the 1 hour that we have in 3 blocks. The first one is about concepts, and the second and the third are about definition of our needs and potential solutions. That way we try to avoid long discussion about what a specific topic. No, we want to extract the maximum value of the session. So the interventions on the second and third block should be very concrete, straight, condensate, okay, and maximum 3 minutes per person. Okay, we are flexible with those rules, okay, but that's the general idea, and we try to keep it in mind. Okay, for today's first session, we will have the Karel van der Porten, that I think you know everyone, that he will make the introduction. The topics proposed for today's the combination of social economy and innovation, but we also try to answer the most fresh needs. So if you want to speak about any other point that is really important at the present moment, feel free. This is a very dynamic group, so we need to be able to focus on what is really important. After Karel, the proposal is to have the Professor Mario Calderini. I don't know if he's here, not yet, I see. I hope he doesn't have any problem connecting. And after that, we will have Victor Seger. Welcome, Victor. Okay, and you have, every one of you have something like 10 minutes maximum, because that will be 30 minutes between the three of you. Okay. What time is it? Yeah, 8:30 and 1 minute. So we will start, if you agree. Okay, Karel, do you want to have the presentation capacity? Could you present something, or just?
Yeah. Why not? I hope people are not yet bored of me.
No, I'm sure that not, not at all.
Okay, that's good, because let's see. I made a small preparation, not a preparation, but can you see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing it.
So no, now you see yourself, I guess.
No, we are seeing the summary.
Yeah,
Cluster
okay,
of
and it's Okay, the windows of the meeting are not conflicting with the screen, right?
No,
No?
no,
Okay,
everything is right.
perfect. So
Now, yes. I don't
now
know
they
what
are.
you did. Now better. Now better.
Wait, I will come again. So this should do the trick. I just show you one slide of the presentation I gave last week, because this is basically the summary, so I don't need to do the whole slideshow again. You remember very well that we were discussing clusters of social and ecological innovation, which is some kind of the same format as traditional clusters, but with some slight but also crucial differences with traditional industrial clusters that you are usually working with. And this is rooted into the social economy, let's say. So this slide just makes a summary of what we do. Of course, last week we went way more in detail, but we have no time, and it's also not the setup of this meeting. So if you want, I can also share the slideshow again afterwards for the ones that were not present last week. So basically, these clusters arise in two ways. I have explained you that some are used as a tool for policy. So there the government is usually in the initiative. This is a minority. For example, they use it as a tool for social inclusion, to fulfill certain social inclusion tasks, but within a partnership that can be organized within a specific territory with specific different members, so not classic consortia, let's say, and also in a longer term strategy, so not project based, but really a structural partnership. And that is what the first type is. The second is basically just the same, but it's organically grown, and usually there is a very small scale in the beginning, and then there is a lift when new actors are connected. I have explained you as well that usually there are three basic drivers. Can somebody cancel the noise because I'm.
Yes. Yeah, I'm silencing. Yeah. Now.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, it was a bit disturbing. Of course, the drivers behind, or at least the purposes, were, as we have seen, first of all, job directed, so creation of jobs, but also creation of a sort of social economy model. Also the creation of more ecologic and sustainable entrepreneurship that is fulfilling the benefit of the territory. The drivers behind this are, of course, social drivers, so employment of specific target groups, meaning people with a distance from the labor market, such as, for example, refugees, such as, for example, people with disabilities, excluded people from society. But also to promote social innovation specifically as a practice. That is like the second most important type of cluster that we have seen. So you could also see it as partnership for social innovation, but always connected to a territory, so in proximity of each other. And that is usually different with many other social innovation partnerships where it covers, for example, a whole member state. But here the social innovation question is specifically rooted to the local challenges and questions. And of course, closely connected also just for rural or urban development, as we have seen the stories about Slovenia, I think 2 weeks ago, where there is a really a partnership at municipality level to create new tools for rural exploration, activity, technology, but also for the attraction of tourism, for example. And of course, for the urban development, that's quite obvious that this is in the interest. The second one is sustainability. So this is way much, this is in the sense of SDG. So how a partnership, a cluster can work specifically on fulfilling the expectations of the SDGs. And there, of course, the cooperation for ecologic and energy transition is one of the main important drivers. The third one, and that is very, very important for me to highlight, because otherwise people think, yes, social economy clusters and social economy de facto is only about the social. No, it's social economy. So it's also about economic economic benefit. It's also about creation of added value, just in an other way. I think Victor will later on explain you probably very well what the core idea of social economy is and what it stands for. But these economic drivers are, for a cluster, of course, crucial. They also need access to markets. They also need to work together to cooperate for cost saving, for creating common services for each other, to be not only competitive, but also have a sustainable business model, not only in social and sustainability way or ecologic way, but also to just survive economically. And then we made several observations. For example, and that is one of the most important, the difference between a traditional industrial cluster. You have usually R&D and science, you have the industry, and you have the public authority. A fourth one that we can add in the clusters of social and ecological innovation is the civil society of the community. This is very important, that we are going into the quadruple or even quintuple helix model, where the connection to the territory means also the connection to the community and to the society. Another observation we made, and that is a very interesting one, especially during some site visits, we have seen that social clusters are used for regeneration of specific industrial sites, and there the cooperation with local government is very strong, because local government has certain old industrial sites that they want to regenerate, that they want to create new activity, but also a more wider than only economic. For example, arts, housing, leisure activities are also requested to be developed by this cluster in this specific site. And therefore, such a cluster is a perfect model to bring all the different partners together and make it sustainable in all the three different ways we have seen. This is very much connected with the innovative financial models, where you pool resources from very different backgrounds, from European funding to community funding to local funding. Also, the ways how you get revenue out of the funding, etc., it's a perfect vehicle to explore this. And another point, and that is something that also Victor will probably discuss with you, is the governance model. It's very crucial, of course, that a governance model of a social and ecological cluster is democratic or participatory, that people are engaged, that it's not just a top-down decision, nor from the government, but also not from the more stronger partners within the partnership or the entity that can decide all the rules of the game, let's say. And the last one is a very beautiful one, because that is really to explain that a cluster of social innovation is a resource for the territory and doesn't use the territory as a resource for its own economic benefit. And that's very beautiful sentence we have stolen from somewhere else, to be very honest with you, but to show that it's really to regenerate, to make the territory and the society more to create more prosperity for the citizens that are living there. And that is in the end the basic goal. So this is a small recap about our vision on clusters of social and ecological innovation. Do I have still 2 minutes more?
Yeah.
Or yeah, okay.
2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. as you know, we are also with the social economy community organize webinars every week right now. So yesterday we had the number 4, which was specifically on the role of social and ethical finance, which was very interesting, because we had 3 banks, so ethical and social banks. We had FEBEA, it's the European umbrella. We had France Active, which is a very known institution in France for financing the social and solidarity economy. We had TISA in Poland, which is it's not a new one, but it's very good that we have also in Eastern Europe an institution that finances specifically social economy. And then we had Banca Etica, which is probably the most known institution in Europe when it comes to social finance. And they were explaining yesterday how they deal with the crisis, how they help their members and their clients, their companies to survive this crisis, because of course also in social economy, besides the regular SMEs, many of the enterprises are really suffering these days of liquidity, just pure liquidity issues. What is more remarkable, for example, that Banca Etica explained that around 50% of the enterprises they give a loan are supposed to be non-bankable by traditional banks, and still they make them bankable. And this is not by having big losses, because they have only a default rate, and I'm not getting too technical, of 0.66%. So this means that also in the banking world, the openness towards other types of businesses, other ways of dealing with impact and economic, social, and ecological impact are still very economic, viable, and reliable. This is what we have discussed yesterday. So by the end of the day, we will have again a summary on our web page, Social Economy in the Fight Against Corona. I explained last week already the previous session, which was on crowdfunding and match funding. I can very much recommend also to have a look at this page, because this is a completely new way, a completely new thinking on local finance, how community could be engaged, how the government could top up, mutual verification, etc., etc. But I think my time is consumed by now, and the other speakers can add way more than I did. But I hope it's a decent introduction, Antonio. Thank you very much.
No, it's really interesting, and we are learning a lot. Thank you very much to you, Karel, and please share the link in the chat.
Yes,
Or the
I will
presentation.
do. I will do.
If you send to me the presentation later, we will share it also in the Slack. Or perhaps you could write about it in the ECCP forum. That would be also wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, which I have done already. Yeah. Okay, I will add some more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good. Now, welcome, Professor Mario Calderini. I see that you are there. Just for your information, because here we have some very strict rules. You have 10 minutes to present, okay? And now is your time. Thank you.
Even more than I expected. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here and share my views. Just a very brief introduction. I'm particularly happy to be here because I have been for many years the senior advisor to the Italian government, research and innovation policies. And I make myself proud of having created the national cluster policy. In the national cluster policy, I have created the so-called smart community cluster. That was, let's say, first prototype of social economy driven cluster exercise. And I will conclude my presentation with 3 examples of experiments that I'm trying to conduct here in Italy. But let me very briefly introduce my points. I'll try to make myself clear in a few minutes. A few premises. Let's say a great deal of expectation has been placed on the so-called knowledge economy. The general assumption, of course, was the knowledge economy, science-driven, science push, would have been able to spur growth and prosperity, and to do so in an equitable and inclusive way in Europe. And the consequence, you well know, is that the prevailing innovation policy approach was molded around the myths and legends of the Silicon Valley, and there was a great deal of expectation on the fact that knowledge and science per se would have generated spin-off technology transfer and in general wealth for European citizens. Unfortunately, in the last 3 years, we have a number of empirical evidences that show that the knowledge economy has fallen short of expectation, perhaps in terms of absolute growth, but certainly in terms of equitable distribution of opportunities. And let's say a high density of knowledge and wealth concentrated in selected areas and segments of society. So this is the reason why I think it's crucial to inaugurate a new generation of place-based, inclusive, innovation-driven development policies. inspire to a more inclusive idea of growth. And my idea of social economy cluster is based on this assumption. To cut a very long story short, at the very center of such inclusive innovation agenda, there is what I call a new entrepreneurial genre that I believe should be included in the perimeter of policies for growth. The idea is I refer to such entrepreneurial genre as social tech venture, a model of entrepreneurship that is neither belonging to the third sector, strictly speaking, nor it can be described by means of mainstream for-profit corporate models. So we are in a gray area. We're talking about a hybrid entrepreneurial model that I think is the really interesting option for the future of European growth policies. Because the point is that such a new entrepreneurial genre, coupled with appropriate financial tools and leveraging opportunities lying in the so-called markets for social needs, may offer Europe a huge opportunity that stands at the crossroad between research and innovation policies and social policies and financial policies. Of course, I refer to impact investing or the so-called social finance stream of instrument. Impact investing is growing. It's still a niche sector. It's let's say a market that is still based on small numbers. But social impact investing has a huge potential in supporting social tech startups to overcome the barriers they experience in accessing to finance. For this reason, there is a clear policy objective, in my opinion, which is to promote the emerging social impact investing industry by both acting as market builders and facilitators and promoting the investment readiness of social tech enterprises. Now, here comes the importance of ecosystem cluster policies and, let's say, new place-based approaches to inclusive growth policies. We are talking about a new impact value chain, and this impact value chain is bound to happen in compact and dense local ecosystem with specific features where social innovation finds the most favorable condition to deploy their full potential. The impact value chain is, of course, a combination of social problems in search for a solution, social entrepreneurs able to deliver such solution, and with an extensive use of low, medium, high tech together with public local administration. So the point is, social entrepreneurship has never been considered a sector or a pattern of economic development that would have made use excessively of technology. I think the scenario has changed and that there is a wide array of technological opportunities, low tech, medium tech, or even high tech. So technology is now probably in some respect a commodity, easy to use, relatively cheap, and therefore accessible to social entrepreneurship. Now, I think that the trick is to make these technological opportunities available to social entrepreneurs, so to spur the huge potential for scaling impact, for making social entrepreneurship or social business model more sustainable, even from the point of view of economic sustainability. So the idea is that there is something that has been characteristic of traditional cluster approaches. That is, we have science, we have technology, and so we need to connect science and technology actors with the traditional entrepreneurs and traditional entrepreneurial models. Now, the big challenge is to see whether we can develop new technology transfer approaches that are more suitable to address and to convey technological opportunity to social entrepreneurs. So basically, let me say that the big idea is, why don't we in cluster, why don't we experiment a new generation of tech transfer policies that are able to involve social entrepreneurship in the pyramid of growth of the policy. Of course, this has to we need to reconsider many of the traditional assumptions we have been using in cluster policies. Social innovation is peculiar. Social innovation requires density. Social innovation requires non-linear approaches to policies. But the potential is used. Let me. I will conclude practical example. Let's assume we'll be able every year to turn 1% of the 2 million social enterprises estimated in Europe, that are estimated to operate in Europe, into social tech enterprises. Social tech mean more capital-intensive, tech-intensive model of social entrepreneurship. 1% of 2 million will result in 20,000 new organizations. Would be technically speaking, brand new, but that could be easily considered new high-tech startups. Not only an interesting number, but also a very interesting option in terms of inclusive growth for at least two reasons. First, because these enterprises are native social and therefore by definition able to deal with specific societal challenges. Second, because these enterprises are rather homogeneously dispersed in geographical terms in Europe and therefore were rooted in the so-called behind places, and therefore suitable to reduce the territorial laceration that has been one of the unintended consequences of the economics of knowledge. So you pursue social and group objective together. So what's the idea? Let's try to build a cluster policy that leverage on the work of social enterprises in Europe and think of it as a diffused and distributed incubator and accelerator. So we will shift from a model that uses incubators and science parks as physical places and sources of innovative entrepreneurship to a model that leverages on social innovation and social entrepreneurship networks as a mean of shifting from a polarized model to a distributed and inclusive model of innovation growth. In Italy, let's be honest, it is not clear, in my opinion, what the feature and characteristics of social economy clusters have to be in order to make this happen. And so my point is that we need to move forward by experiments. In Italy, we are conducting 3 important experiments with different characteristics. One is Torino Social Impact. The 3 are in the northern part of Italy. One is Torino Social Impact, and the characteristic is that this is a very bottom-up approach. It has been generated by the Smart Community Cluster, and it's a platform of 80 players, including financial institution, of course. I confirm in Italy, 99% of banks and investment funds are now developing specific branches dedicated to impact investing. So 88 actors that came together in a platform and try to find new way to interact and trigger this technology transfer, new approach to technology transfer in favor of social entrepreneurs. The second very interesting experiment is the so-called Area Expo experiment. We'll remember the Expo exhibition 2015 in Italy, 1 million square meters, where boats and are being developed by Lend-Lease, a huge Australian operator. And the point is that we are using that area, huge development plan, as a social innovation or economic cluster experiment. And there the idea is that the experiment is characterized by the fact that the private developer is the anchor institution and leading actors. Last, and I conclude, in Trentino, we are starting a new third experiment where the policymaker will be the main driver, a new experiment of social economy clustering. So we will have 3 experiments, one very bottom up, the second private actor driven, the third policy maker driven. And we will try to understand if this idea of making of helping social entrepreneurs to become more capital and tech intensive, and therefore acting as a sort of distributed social economy incubator is a good and viable idea. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. It has been a brilliant intervention. Thank you from the heart. Okay, I will say that the crisis has give you another very good experiment, that is the coronavirus makers reality. They are a mix between tech and social activity, and
Exactly.
probably you could look at that. But it's brilliant. Thank you very much. We want you, everyone, every day here. Please come here with us. We are learning a lot.
I'll be happy to join.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I apologize because I won't be able to be with you until 9:30 as I told, but I really enjoy being with you until now. Thank you.
Thank you. I ensure that we will have a very, very good discussion today. So please stay as much as you can, because the later we will have interest exchange. Victor, it's your time. Welcome.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Antonio, also for the invitation and for the opportunity to share this meeting with you. May I become presenter to share
For sure.
Thanks a lot. There we go. Yeah. Partager. Okay. There we go. Just a second. There we go. So this is the presentation that we have prepared. First of all, I will be very brief, but have a word about what the social economy community is in Europe. And of course, I'm not trying to be limitative at all, but I am trying to give a concept, to give a bit the dimension and the potential of this community. We are talking about diversity of enterprises and organizations. Very diverse and with big changes from one member state from another. The big pillars of the social economy across the European Union are cooperatives, associations, which in terms of numbers are huge in the European Union, and of which many of them have an intense economic activity. Of course, we have mutuals that are active in insurance and also active in healthcare provision. We have foundations, paritary institutions, and social enterprises, which very often take a diversity of legal form. From cooperative in Italy, very typical in Italy, but also in France and Spain, through the social cooperatives, to other legal forms, and even a specific social enterprise legal form. These enterprises are united by values. The fil conducteur, the thing that puts them together, is some important values: the primacy of people over capital, a democratic governance, and always the reinvestment of most profits for sustainable development objectives. So an economy that goes from the non-for-profit, from the total reinvestment of profits, to a limited, to the reinvestment of most of the profits, a limited profitability. This together represents 2.8 million social economy enterprise and organizations, 8%. 8% of Europe's GDP, 8% of the world's GDP according to the United Nations, and 13.8 million employees in the European Union. Social economy has been particularly active in the fight against COVID, against the pandemic and its economic and social consequences, also because of the economic sectors in which these enterprises are mostly present. Healthcare for all, with an important presence of non-for-profit social economy actors. The provision of social services of general interest, also from a non-for-profit perspective. Also food, because social economy is particularly important in the agri-food industry. Financial support, as Karel explained, and also the professor, with through social economy, financial institutions, ethical and cooperative banks, but also credit unions, and a diversity of social economy financial intermediaries that are supporting the real economy, whose core business is supporting the social economy and the wider real economy, particularly in these complicated moments. Also in insurance, also a strong presence in industry, and a strong presence in basic services, energy, water, telecommunications, cleaning, recycling, etc. From social economy Europe, we have developed a position on this current crisis that we are living, that we are facing, and we sent on the 6th of February an open letter to EU leaders, including already some important proposals. From our point of view, it is the moment to boost social economy to foster collective entrepreneurship. And what I would like to say about collective entrepreneurship is that those collective enterprises are more resilient, create better jobs, and protect better the workers. And for instance, never delocalize. They are always at the they resist crises like this one, because maintaining jobs is at the core of their mission. They never delocalize from territories, and they also can serve as an instrument to reindustrialize many areas of Europe. And I would like to insist on these points on reindustrializing. Or industrializing many regions of Europe, because I think also that is complementary with what was said before. I will stop the screen to see your faces for a sec. No. So yeah, social economy has a potential in the technological area, but also has the potential to reindustrialize through collective entrepreneurship many areas of Europe. We see many regions, particularly less developed and transition regions, that are constantly begging for external investments, which is a good thing to do. But why not put cooperativism in concretely and the social economy from a wider perspective at the service of reindustrializing these regions, using the human capital that every European region has, using the tons of engineers, and not only engineers, all the professions that every year graduate in the universities, as a way to start important industrial projects in the different regions of Europe. On the one hand, collective projects are better in terms of raising funds and raising the financial capacity that an important industrial project needs. And on the other hand, it is a way to empower the population and to public authorities, together with their population and their young citizens, start important ventures and important projects to reindustrialize Europe. I think this is important, and I really think that social economy from the socio-economic perspective, so on the one hand on the social sector, but also on the industrial sector, should be at the core of a European policy, of national policies, and of regional and local policies to reindustrialize our territories. We also think that social economy should be used to strengthen the quality of our welfare systems. To a certain extent, the crisis demonstrates that the provision of very quality social services of general interest is fundamental. In our opinion, social services of general interest should be provided or by public authority, as it already happens, or by non-for-profit actors for which this social activity is not a way of maximizing profits. It is actors for which the activity is an obsession. Providing a good service to the users and providing good quality working conditions to their employees is fundamental. So we should promote more and more, as it happens in many European member states, social economy actors and non-for-profit or limited profitability actors in the provision of social services. Social economy also accelerates the green transition. Social economy has been a leader in the circular economy and in creating jobs, particularly for the most vulnerable ones, in reusing, recycling, and repairing products to give them a second life and to put them back in the market. So there, the social economy has demonstrated over the years an important strength, and this strength should be still promoted. But also social economy is at the core of the renewable energy transition. Renewable energy cooperatives are fundamental actor of this transition in many European member states. Germany is a paradigmatic case, but we also have examples in France, Spain, and all over the European Union. As Karel was saying, a strengthening sustainable finance, particularly through all, and as it was said also before, it impact investment through all financial institutions that it is true are more and more interested in this type in this niche type of investment, but also through the main experts, through the ones that have been at the avant-garde in terms of providing the services. So through social economy, financial institutions. And for this, it is also very important to boost an important cooperation between the social economy and the European Investment Bank Group. We have seen over the years that there is a problem in the offer meeting the demand. And this is just because of a disconnection between the reality and the demand, and those who have, with the best of the volunteers, I will say, the objective of improving sustainable finance. And social economy should also be at the heart of the reply of this crisis to ensure that no one is left behind through inclusive social economy business model, work integration, social enterprises, social cooperatives, shelter workshops, etc., etc. We cannot build tomorrow's economy by abandoning a lot of citizens that are excluded from this knowledge economy because maybe they weren't at the level that the society today expects, so a university degree and so on. We cannot leave behind these citizens. And by the way, and this is also important, most European member states today are exploring basic income experiments, which seem very interesting and are very important in this context, but are not a structural solution. We cannot just pay forever those that are not at the level that the knowledge economy requires. Because it has a psychological impact. Everyone has the right to work, and everyone has the right to feel useful for society. And social economy is key in providing these work opportunities to the most vulnerable individuals. So here we have some images of where the social economy is particularly relevant. Integration of people with disabilities, circular economies, production of renewable energies, but also industry. And the image of the industry is and I know that we have colleagues from the Mondragon Universe and Arizmendiarreta Foundation. So this cooperative in particular is a cooperative of Mondragon Group that right now is making 60 million masks in cooperation with the Spanish government, and also in cooperation. So a cooperative specialized in making hospital devices that now, because of the situation, is making masks in cooperation with this for the Spanish Ministry of Health and for the Spanish Ministry of Industry and other public authorities. Another example of social economy reaction to this crisis, we can find it in Portugal. Where our member CASAS, that is a public-private agency, so the state, together with social economy actors, giving solutions to the social economy and promoting the development of the social economy, has created this platform, Cuida de Todos, Let's Take Care of Each Other, which already has connected more than 3,000 volunteers wanting to give a reply from an entrepreneurial side or from a social perspective side to the current crisis and take care of the most vulnerable in society. And an example of technology, of social technology, can be this that I wanted to share with you, Easy Union technology and accessibility. Shelter workshop, which by Spanish law means that 80% of the workers are people with disabilities. So a Spanish social economy shelter workshop that is leader in robotics and that is also creating accessible website. First of all, for the big enterprises of Spain, so for IBEX 35, for the big ones, the big players that also have an online marketplace, ensuring that these marketplaces are accessible for all individuals, but also is helping digitalize the Spanish social economy and the Spanish third sector. Just to conclude, we are collecting, and this is an example of what our Spanish member did, a document that was given on Tuesday, to the Spanish Minister of Labor and Social Economy. We are collecting practices of social economy enterprises, giving innovative solutions to the current crisis, making masks, making ventilators, protective visors, etc., etc. Just in Spain, we have collected more than 400 cases, and right now we are doing this same exercise at European level. And to collect data and to collect examples of these good practices, also in line with what the Commission has been doing. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Victor, and all the team. You are doing a wonderful job. Thank you. So this is the moment to go to the second block of our meetings, that is about needs. The objective is to identify what kind of needs are more urgent to cover. Later we will speak about solutions. 3 minutes maximum per person. Please don't repeat. This is not a dialogue, it's a putting in common knowledge and ideas, okay? The most valuable of them. So the floor is open. Who is the first?
Can I be the first? Antonio, as usual, it will be
No,
1 minute.
no. It's Carlos Trias. Sorry, Carlos was waiting. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for all your brilliant interventions. My conclusion is that clusters and social economy are sharing same values and indeed are reacting in the same way, taking into account society interest and also facilitating civil society participation, as well as empowering local solutions, counting with all. Yesterday, when Mitchell, president of the council, made his summary of the important meeting, he was insisting the need to precise analyze the needs of Europe. Who can better identify the needs of recovery? Of course, the actors in the ground, in the territories, with a huge background and experience. We have to capitalize. We have to follow solutions provided by Professor Calderini. We have to follow pilot experiences combining different actors, and of course we have to take advantage of the current tools that European Commission has already provided, for instance, in the Age 2020 research initiatives, in particular, responsible research and innovation. That means a bottom-up process convoking all concerned actors. This is the way, and I think that now we have a general framework, and name it the Green New Deal, is a huge opportunity, not only to rapidly super the current situation, but also to improve also social and economy ecosystems. And of course, I think that now is moment for joining efforts the current ecosystems that are very well functioning, and I think that we have to share energies. This is the momentum for Europe. Now we have the framework. We expect that Commission is launching an deep action plan to facilitate all these approaches, and you are the main actors. Now is the moment to act on from the Japan Economic and Social Committee that I am here representing. We are making all the efforts to support your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. It's important to have here the European Economic and Social Committee represented. Thank you very much. Celine.
Thank you very much for all these presentations. And I just would like to add a short thing that, well, we see so many initiatives that are very nice, but what is missing is a coordination of all these initiatives. So I think that the role of European Union and of different members is to put together all these initiatives to classify or to organize them and to coordinate them and to make them so maybe by what they bring they can make some kind of classification or and to see how people can address questions and to orient them towards the solutions, and so to make the links between all these different initiatives. That's all what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Celine. Jaime.
Okay, thank you very much, Antonio. It's very, very brief. I'd like to ask Carol if he could comment about the very good exposition he made on how, from his experience, it could be possible to value the shared value that Michael Porter spoke about, because we have the normal clusters that are connected with the creation of economic value, and we have the social clusters that has a different kind of approach. So how, from his experience, would it be possible to get and to value this transaction between the more valuing clusters and the social clusters? Thank you.
Yeah, but Jaime, that's solutions, and this is not the block for solutions.
Okay, sorry.
This
No,
is
it
the
was a
block for
question.
needs. So you are breaking my rule.
Okay, sorry for that. Sorry, Antonio. Okay.
Later. Now needs, please. We need to coordinate. I totally agree. I think that is clear. We need new policies. It was something that told before Professor Mario. More needs.
Ilaria speaking. Hi. I think that there's a need to understand better the difference between the meaning of a social entrepreneur and a not social entrepreneur. I mean, the really difference, because in Italy we see some situations that are really different to define, difficult to define. So I don't know if there is some clarification in these meanings that you use.
I can do if you want, but maybe later in the solutions, no, Antonio?
No, do it now. Yeah, sorry.
So basically, so I think that first of all, let's think that any business is legitimate and any business is social by definition because it has a certain degree of social impact. This should be the basis. No one has the monopole of social. But what differentiates social economy, social entrepreneurship, social economy entrepreneurship from the rest? The values that I said before. So, okay, you can be an enterprise in the social sector, but this doesn't make you automatically a social enterprise or a social economy enterprise. What makes you a social economy enterprise is having democratic governance, free and open membership, so anyone can enter your organization. Is a collective organization. It's not a single person organization. It has a collective dimension, and there is a reinvestment of profits, not meaning that you are non-for-profit, meaning that you have a limited profitability. So with this regard of the legal forms, for me, these values make the difference between social and economy entrepreneurs and the rest. Not saying that the rest are not social, by the way.
Thank you very much, Victor, for the brief answer. Okay, more needs. No more needs. I'm really surprised. As we have only 10 minutes, we jump to the solution. Karel, you can answer.
Yeah, sorry, I have one more need, and you know I repeat this need a lot. So, and it's a pity that Mario Calderini is not here anymore. But maybe we can organize a session specifically on this, because his approach, I would really like to know what his opinion would be on creating this European Digital Commons alliance. Let's say, I will call it alliance. It doesn't matter how you call it, but as I repeatedly said in the past, that we see very much right now that these digital commons are jumping into the economic model where they were before some kind of a segregated world. And suddenly they found their plugins towards just basic SMEs, towards the clusters, etc. But I'm really still struggling, to be very honest, how we could more institutionalize this connection for the future, because now it was done out of emergency, out of philanthropy from one and the other side, but to embed them more structurally into the economic system. Even within the social economy, there are discussions whether they are belonging, yes or no, and that is not a discussion we should have over here, but especially the world of these digital commons, that out of there. Was there a response? Or yeah, and that is something that is still a need for me, because I'm a bit afraid if we are not trying to do this right now, it might be a lost opportunity, because when things are turning again into normal, that might segregate again. I hope not, but this is something, maybe a need for the future of this group as well, and then to maybe discuss more with people like David, for example, with people like Mario, but also with the people from the Netherlands, the hackers community from Spain we have already seen over here. So it's just a suggestion to solve this need. Thank you.
No, it's a wonderful suggestion, and we could focus another session on that next week if you want.
I can try to bring some people in.
We will help you for sure. Okay, but it's a very, very good suggestion, I think.
Antonio, I also, Aurora speaking, I also want to stress for a need that was identified on the day we spoke about education. One of the things that really shocked, but it exists, shocked only because it was written down, is the worry about kids that are victims of domestic violence. And we need to identify the size of that drama and how to be able to face that and combat that. How to help those kids that stopped to have the shelter that school is, to avoid the parent, the familiar, the relatives. I don't know how to call it, but it's violence. Another one that was spoken on the same day very lightly, but it's also a worry, is how to help kids that have different capacities. I'm not speaking about the lack of computers that was spoken, but that has as a solution already, although it's not fully complied. But we know how to do it. But for kids that are disabled or have special needs, when they're learning at a distance, it's a lot worse, the capacity to learn. So I don't know if there is already any social economy institute. I'd like to avoid the word institution because sometimes it has a bad ways. But some kind of entity that already is specialized on that and could cross border help each other to make a solution.
Rosa Castizo, will you comment on that? Rosa, are you there? I don't know. I totally agree, as you very well know, Aurora. So I was proposing Rosa because Rosa is working on Frena la Curva, I know that they are taking care of that. I think, I'm near sure, but the Rosas should have some kind of problem. I manage another answer because that merits answers.
May I add some numbers about this violence, domestic violence? I don't know if I can add some numbers, because Aurora talked about a very interesting theme that is worrying us, and this is very complicated because nowadays in quarantine time, the domestic violence is a kind of invisible weapon, and in France the numbers have increased about 26%, in the United Kingdom 25%, in Cyprus 30%, in Spain 18%. But in Italy, however, and in Portugal, they have decreased in Italy about 25% and in Portugal about 26%. And this is very worried because people and government, Portuguese government and the police are very worried because they have not decreased. They have increased as in the other countries for sure. But as the aggressors are at home, people cannot complain. And this is dramatic.
Yeah, something also to study and to take care. What can we do? What can we do? What kind of solution would you propose? What will help in that situation?
We have some in Portugal. We are trying to do some mentorship between schools and those kids. We are trying to call them every 2 days and to establish a contact, a systematic contact, so as to supervise all these situations. But we know that not all of the schools are doing this. So it shouldn't depend on the school really. There should be some kind of organization that would take care of all this. I don't know.
European number and European common policy or common service, something like that?
Yes, or national. I don't know. Every nation should take some decisions about this. Because it could be really dramatic. We don't know how long it will last, this isolation, but the numbers are increasing in some countries, and in the others they are deceived. So we don't know the impact for sure.
I am sorry.
Sorry. Go on.
No, please. No. I am sure that you are aware of existing initiatives that are working well. No, for instance, it's mainly for violence against women, and the aggressor is not always the same, but sometimes it's the same. In Spain, pharmacies are doing that role. They are one of the only essential places where people can go. So people is denouncing in the pharmacies, and this is institutionalized. They can go to the pharmacy, and without saying nothing, with a sign, they can formally denounce and I think that it's a solution that is working. Don't know, but
we know, for instance, they say red mask in the pharmacy and they announce it. But in Portugal, for instance, they have created a special email and a free messaging system, but that isn't working. And in Italy, they have implemented some measures, but that are not working. That's why the numbers are deceiving, and this is dramatic because in Spain you have the numbers. But in some countries, that is not working. All the measures that are being implemented, the numbers are decreasing, and we know that they are not decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason is because, for instance, the Portuguese case, we have two things that would help. One is in legal frame, domestic violence towards whoever it is, women, old people, kids, whatever. It's considered a public crime, which means that if I know that my neighbor does that in their family, I have the obligation to go to the police and say. But the tradition is do not mix yourself with other people, family matters. So the tradition is stronger than the law, and this is a nightmare. And the other thing that Ana Claudia just spoke about, this free SMS, which it's more than free. It is not recorded on the telephone that sent it, so that the aggressor does not see that the communication was done, but it's communicated at the same time to the entire community. So the person that has been the victim knows, but the aggressor also knows. So the aggressor takes the telephones out of the aggressed person, so they have no opportunity to use it. So really, education, pressure, police, whatever has to work.
I really don't know what we need to think what can we do. I don't know. I really don't know. It's very far from my.
I really hope that in this hackathon someone brings any kind of solution.
Hello, good morning. In Portugal, we have protecting commission for children and youngers. It's national, and they have a telephone number, and we could contact the schools and old hospitals and denunciate the case. So we have one instrument that we can use. Regarding the disabled people and the difficulty that disabled people have to access to internet and to the computer. When I was working at United Nations, I did work about that for that I can share with you. How we can address disabled people, and we design a framework for that, because 15% of the world population have some kind of disability, and we design a framework to address this problem. So I can help on this.
Please, Aurora, somebody, would you organize a specific session on that, and would you invite those people that you consider? Or I mean, I need somebody taking care of it. It could be Aurora or whoever.
Ana Claudia, do you join me on doing that? And the person that just spoke, I don't know who was this person.
No, Carlos. I can help also. I can help. Yes, of course.
Yes, count on me, Aurora. Count on me.
Please, you could invite those people that you think that are more significant, and we can try to have a serious reflection about what is possible to do.
And you mentioned that Rosa Castiço was working on
Rosa,
that.
yes,
so...
Rosa. I know that Rosa is usually in 3 or 4 different conversations at the same time. Okay, Celine.
Yes, as I put in the chat, I think that in order to answer to what I propose as a need of coordination, I think that instead of inventing new network, it is the coordination of the existing networks. And so to create like an umbrella platform, making very visible according to the different needs and providers, what could be the different kind of needs and according to different actors, and how they could contact different the platforms. And so to make this coordination through a platform. So it needs a kind of classification, and we need to classify the different kind or categories of needs, or quite large, and how they can be combined. And this platform could be very useful, and I think it could be quite quick, but it needs to a reflection, a collective reflection on the classification of all that.
Victor.
Yeah. Well, I'm very interested. First of all, as I said at the beginning, I'm very interested to join this alliance. I don't want to first of all talk a lot and then be too disruptive, because we have just arrived. I think that the exercise that you are doing is extremely interesting, of finding solutions to concrete needs now. I agree with Celine that merging efforts, building synergies is fundamental. And I think that there are two elements that are important. On the one hand, the urgent reply to the specific needs of today, which is something that I think that you are doing fantastically. And on the other hand, building tomorrow's economy, and a reflection of, and reflect together if tomorrow's economy should be an extension of the economy before the crisis, or should be different to a certain extent, how entrepreneurship should be. And this actually, yes, requires an alliance, a very open alliance, to rethink tomorrow's economy, tomorrow entrepreneurship, to make concrete proposals, to build tomorrow, and also to give concrete answers to the needs of today. And from our side, we are open to cooperate with as many actors as needed to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful, Victor. I don't. We don't want to be the main actor on that. Okay, we don't need to be that. Yes, this is a group, a team, or a space for common dialogue. And the main reason to be here is just that it's needed. We need to coordinate. I don't know if we will follow after the crisis or not with this kind of activities, but for sure we want to be here at least during the crisis, meaning for months and months and months, because this is not something that we will pass very, very quickly. But we could join with other initiatives if they are in the here. I don't know. Okay, but anyway, we have we need to close. Okay, you are very, very welcome, everyone. So, Karel, go on. Yes.
I'm sorry. I just think it's really important to highlight a very small message. It's very good that we are connecting on this more, let's say, aggregated level. But we need to stay a little bit realistic as well. We really need to foresee that we have some tangible existing models that are already tested and that prove some kinds their value in real life. And that is basically what Mario Calderini also said. If we only connect at this aggregated level and we talk about solutions, we create platforms where we exchange, etc. This is some kind of core business sometimes of the European Commission, if I can be a bit critical of ourselves. That is not always fulfilling the expectations. Sometimes you also really need to build some plugins locally in the ecosystems itself to create these synergies, and then scale this, extrapolate this to make other people aware about this good practice, because we can discuss whatever we like over here and in theory and blah blah blah. I don't say it's blah blah blah, but in the end people will only take action if they really believe it's working, and if they see examples such as Torino social impact, such as other examples we have already discussed in my presentation last week, because these are tangible and are working and are also transferable to other ecosystems. Sometimes not, because the let's say the state of play in several ecosystems is completely different, so there are no direct links. So we cannot expect that there will be one European model where of a social and economy cluster mix. That is not the truth. It's the hardcore identity of a cluster that it's connected to the territory locally, and we should really respect it. Of course, the consequence of that intervention, of my intervention, is that it makes it way more difficult because it's usually decentralized. And it is a challenge for the European Commission, and I really admit, but also for the networks like yours, because the trick of the proof will be to stay interconnected after the crisis, and also to deliver these successful cases in these networks and to scale them and to spread the word. And that is for me the only solution to have it sustain, because, and we can definitely build a platform of knowledge or wiki, but sometimes thousands of 100,000 millions of euros are put in a platform just to be out there, just to show that there is a platform, and some are used very well, but others just died from itself because it was done too top down without some proficiency on the terrain. That's just, I don't want to be the the breaker of the game, but I think we also need this type of realism. But what we started over here is a first crucial point, because we are bringing constantly real existing initiatives to this aggregated level, and we are now also bringing the social economy networks in, which is very important for me. So that's, I will keep it over here because otherwise I take again too much time. I'm sorry.
No, but that's totally it's needed to say, and we need to think if we want to make this making an impact, we need to do something else. Is what you mean, I suppose, or we need to go for other solutions. No, could you clarify?
No, not other solutions. I think there are different levels of action, and this is one level of action, but it will not sustain if we don't connect it to real existing pilots that are creating the belief that it really works, you see. So it's not that this format is perfect if you see what you deliver already, but this is the reason of existence is because what's delivered thanks to these daily sessions is some concrete gains in real life. The certification, Spain, France, for example, the exchange of the open sources for production of the respirators, of the masks, etc. This is real tangible stuff that is obtained thanks to these meetings and other initiatives. So, but without that kind of stuff, it will not sustain, and that is something I really want to push.
Now I understand. Yeah. We need to create results from these meetings. I totally agree. Okay, but we need to think about that. Yeah, it's an exercise to continue. Okay, so two clear sessions in the future that comes from this one. One is about the mixing between technology and entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and so on. I think that, Karel, you are in charge of the organization. Okay, thank you very much. And you can put or propose the date on the next week or the next the week after that. And there is another very important about violence on the at home and in general violence in the hand of Aurora and Elise and whoever. Okay. Thank you very much to everyone. See you tomorrow if you want. Tomorrow we will speak about the return to the work. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.